Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast at thenewscasters.com. And we're still on the radio, so you can find us on icradio.media. Always good to be with you every day. A number of you send a lot of email, and I definitely appreciate that. Absolutely. And you're always coming up with ideas for shows. And it really means a lot because you really are the boss of me. You tell me what you want me to talk about. So I'm glad to do it. So don't be afraid to do that. Send an email anytime you want to. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. So Julia Christine is with me right now, and Julia is from around the New York area. And it's always so good to be with you. And something we've received a lot of emails about a narcissist. What is, and I think a lot of we're familiar with the term, with the word narcissist, but maybe we need to be educated as to really what a narcissist is. So let's go. First of all, talk about what you do and your podcast.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Julia Christine. I am an intuitive healer. And what that means is I use my intuition to help people connect to their inner beings and to their higher power and find healing in their energy and things like that. I also am the host of the Life After Breath podcast, where it's a daily podcast where we meet every morning for a little bit of inspiration and some starting your day out with some deep breathing, connecting to yourself before you start your day. It's the best way to start your day. And then once or twice a week, we have some conversations and talk about a lot of different stuff and have conversations with other people just like this.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just nice thing to do. But I want to say,
what was that? I'm sorry.
Seems to be a hot word, narcissist.
It does, and I want to start, like, you talk about being educated and stuff. I am not a professional, like therapist, or I don't have any certifications that would qualify me to educate people on narcissism, except I own a dictionary.
Same here.
And I know that sounds catty, but it's true. We so often use words. We talked a little bit about this last time. I'm a big fan of vocabulary. And what I mean by that is it is so important for us to look at the words that we use. We throw around words like they're nothing. And also we put weight on words that are unimportant. A really good example of this is how many times do you say something's hard? Oh, that's hard. Oh, this was doing it. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that. It's hard. Is it though? Or is it just new? Is it just something that you've not experienced before? Or is it something that you're maybe a little trepidatious about? Or is it really hard? And so that's just an easy way of, and easy is another example, because easy actually means something happening with ease. That doesn't mean that it's simple, but we use the word easy as if we were talking about something being simple. And so something can be easy and not simply done. Do you know what I mean? But you can approach it with ease, and that would make it easy. So it's about how we use these words. And I feel like in the last couple of years, the word narcissism has gained in popularity. Everybody's, like you said, you've gotten emails about it. Everybody's using it. Everybody's throwing that title or definition on the people around them. But when we look at the actual definition of the word, it's very simple. A narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest in admiration of themselves, period. And when you dig a little bit further and you look at a narcissistic personality disorder, it's that same thing. They need constant admiration. They have a lifelong, probably from their childhood or, generational trauma or whatever, they have a long held pattern of exaggerated self-importance. And as a result, because their focus is so much on themselves, they lack a lot of empathy. And that's where it starts to, quote unquote, affect us, because they're not going to see things from your perspective. They're only going to see how their self-importance is going to get in the way of being able to relate to you, kind of the way you and I relate to each other, or when someone's injured or something, how we're going to kind of automatically reach out and send them love if we can't help them in any other way. A narcissist isn't going to be able to do that simply because it's not about them. And so when we can I've talked about this before, and it's one of the things that I say a lot is it's really important sometimes when we're starting to get reactive, and we can come back to that, is to take a deep breath and take what I like to call a 50,000 foot view and just kind of step back from the situation for just a second and look at what's really happening and ask yourself some questions. Like, first of all, is this true? Or first of all, actually, before that, is this about me? Does this have anything to do with me? Nope, this is about them. Okay, but they're accusing me of something. So is it true? No. So then that goes back to, well, there's nothing I can do about it. This is about them. So we can like not react because it has nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? We can let them rally or rant or rave or whatever it is that they're doing, but we can rest assured that I don't have to let this affect me because it's not about me. This is their issue. This is that part of them that they might need to attend to a little bit, but that also has nothing to do with me.
Well, and two, it's a little easier to release that. So, I mean, if a narcissist, say, is lying about you, about just because they just need something to say bad about you, right, it's easier to release it when you understand it's not about you, it's about them.
100%. And that's the thing, is that so much of our humanness makes everything about us. So by definition, we're all narcissists. Because we will take everything and make it about us. I'm not alone in that. Some people do it a little bit more than others, but we'll create a story in our heads about why they haven't called back. Oh, she must be mad at me. I must have said something the last time. What did I say that must have pissed her off? Oh, and now all of a sudden we have this massive story when she fell and hurt herself and was spent the day in the doctors and so didn't have an opportunity to call you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like 9.5, probably more than that, times out of 10, it has nothing to do with you. They got busy. They forgot to call. That's it. You know? Or I got dressed and somebody gave me a look and automatically I'm thinking, they're thinking I look awful. And so now I'm in my head about how awful I look when I felt great about it just a minute ago, just because somebody glanced at me funny. That glance probably had nothing to do with me. Or it probably had something to do with, oh my gosh, I hope I look as good as she does. Do you know what I mean? Because we're constantly looking for other people's approval and we're constantly thinking that all they're thinking about is us. But you are not alone in feeling that way. We all do that, which means that nobody's thinking about you.
So why is it so important for us to feel we have to have approval from other people?
You know, it goes back to it's generationally, it's part of who we are as humans. It's I can't think of the word, but it's natural. It is, we are born with it, and it comes back from like caveman days. There was a time, which is not true anymore, where we had to rely on community in order to survive. And if you were different than the people around you, you were ostracized and on your own, and basically that meant you were dead. So it was like literally survival for us to fit in, for us to be a part of this community. That's why community feels so important. And when you don't have a community, you might feel alone and you might feel like a little bit lost. And so that's where church communities become important, or like community centers and things like that. Like I remember feeling I was involved in band when I grew up, and then I got involved in theater, and those things became community. I was involved in church, and then I stopped being involved in church, and all of a sudden I was too old to be in band, and I was no longer at a place where I was in theater, and I started feeling a little bit lost. I didn't have a community, and I created my work as my community. And I would discourage people from creating you can create friendships with fellow employees, but creating your job as a community can be dangerous, because then you spend all of your time at work. And it's about work. It's not about you and enriching one another on a separate level. And so we wander, and wanderers, you know, in the Neanderthal days died. They couldn't survive, or they were hard pressed to. So that's where, like, scientifically, at the top of all of this, it is inherent for us to want to fit in, to want to play nice, and conform. And then there are those, that step out of that a little bit. But I'm telling you, it's not always easy. I had to struggle a bit to be my own person. And I think that that's really important as well, is to connect inside to who you really are, and start to realize that the people you surround yourself with are the people that you're going to emulate. So make sure that you like the people that you like, that you admire, that you respect, that you look up to, the top 5 people. I challenge clients with this all the time. Write a list of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And then look at that list and ask yourself how that makes you feel. Because I remember when I first did this, I looked at that list and was like, hell no. Because scientifically, it's proven you will become like those people. And I did not want to become like any of the people on my list. And it was like, whoa. And it was a real reality check. And it was about that time that I started to really play with this idea. I'm sure you've heard it before, of that, like, no one can make you feel a certain way. We say all the time, again, very flippantly, so-and-so made me mad. No, you allowed yourself to get mad. And that was a really, really hard thing for me to swallow. It probably took me 2 or 3 weeks of like trying to like understand what that even meant, because of course somebody made me mad. He was a jerk to me. So he made me mad. Well, no, he was a jerk to me and I reacted to it. And so I started participating in this back and forth of vitriol or whatever it was. And I allowed his behavior, good or bad, to affect me. And remember, 9.5 times out of 10, somebody else's behavior has nothing to do with me. Somebody can be like, and that's why I don't believe there are toxic people. I believe toxic behaviors, toxic attitudes, but I don't believe that people inherently are toxic. We're just trying to protect ourselves constantly. And sometimes we need to lay off of that a little bit and realize that we are surrounded by other people who just want to protect themselves, which means they're not out to get you, And so when we take ourselves out of the equation a little bit, and like I said, step back and go, okay, what's really happening here? I could react, but what if I just responded and said, okay, I have no idea if that scathing email that accused me of things that I did not do really came from that person's heart. Because how am I supposed to know? Also, if you're reading an email and it feels scathing, go talk to the person, because 9 times out of 10, the way you read something is not the way it was intended. We add intonations to texts and to emails. Pick up the phone and call the person and say, okay, I'm reacting to your email a little bit, or this is triggering me, or like, the tone that I read your email in seems a little angry. Are you upset? Can I ask why? Like, where is this coming from? And now all of a sudden you have information. And then you can say, is that true? No, that's not true. Okay, then it's not true. That means it has nothing to do with me, and there's nothing for me to do about it. And now I haven't gotten angry. I just understand a little bit more of the situation. But let's pretend it is about me. Yeah, they're right. Okay, so do you want to make a change about that? No, these are the boundaries that I've set up for myself. They're new boundaries, which is why this person's reacting to them. But these are the boundaries that I have set up, and I'm not interested in making a change. So there's nothing for me to do here. This is now not about me. This is about them reacting to my boundaries. There's nothing for me to do here.
I've got to give you an example on something. And so this text first came out. Okay, this is back in the heyday, in the 80s and 90s. So a friend of mine had a cell phone, and I sent her. I was in a hurry. I'm always in a hurry. Sometimes, even though I'm from the South, people from the South sometimes don't get it. They think I'm being rude, and I'm not being rude. I'm just in a hurry. So I sent her a really quick text. I didn't pay attention. I had it on caps. I just wasn't paying attention. So the world of text, when you send it in caps, it means you're yelling.
She thought you were yelling at her.
She says, "What are you mad about?" Like that. It sends me one with a bunch of question marks. What are you mad about? And I'm like, what is she talking about? So I'm glad I picked up the phone. I'm glad I picked up the phone. It could have been a huge misunderstanding. And I didn't know what I was doing at that time. And I'm like, what is she doing? So I picked up the phone and I said, Brenda, what are you talking about? She said, you're yelling. And I said, I'm not yelling. What are you talking about? She said, you just sent a message in caps. And then I'm looking at it like, what could I have said that she could think I'm? And she said, do you know what caps means? And I said, apparently not. And she said, it means I said,
right. And that just goes to show how we create stories, because it didn't matter what the text said. The fact that it was all in caps meant you were mad, period, end of story. And it was like, so we just assume that. And then it snowballs into this problem because then you're going to be defensive. I'm not mad. What is she talking about? And really, I'm grateful that you picked up the phone because it really just stopped that right there. And that's where communication is so important. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah. So I do want to add just one more scenario to that whole thing about asking, like, what is this about? Is this about me? Is this true? And the answer is yes. And you maybe don't want to change. But what if you do? Then you can interrupt this heated conversation and say, you know what, you're right. Anytime I tell someone they're right, how can they be upset with you? You know what, you're right. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to make this little tweak so that doesn't happen again. What are they going to do? Perfect. What are they going to do? And now you've completely diffused the situation. You've taken responsibility for this part of what they're mad at, because they're not mad at anything else but this one little thing, but it snowballs into this thing because of all of their preconceived ideas. Exactly. And it's natural. We all do it. We all create these stories that are just BS, excuse me. So that's why it's really important for us to individually realize, I'm not going to create stories anymore. And when you start to tell yourself, oh, they must be upset with me. Oh, they must not want to see me. Oh, they must this. They must. Have you talked to them? Do you know, is that true? Well, they didn't call. Cool. You know that's true. You know that they didn't call, but you don't know why. You have no context to say that they're upset with you. They just didn't call. You have no idea why not. So why create a story? Because now all of a sudden you're upset. You're like fuming. And why? Because of the story you created in your head. A woman that I listen to, Esther Hicks, she calls it nightmaring. Esther and Abraham Hicks, they call it nightmaring. You know, we daydream and we think about all the lovely things that we want and our futures and all of those things. Well, we nightmare as well. And it's when we start creating these stories of what could happen. Have you ever had a whole conversation in your head with somebody before you had it? And then all of a sudden you're angry before you even talk to the person because of the conversation you had with them in your head? Why would you do that to yourself? So I literally will be walking down the street in New York and find myself nightmaring and like grab all of my thoughts from above my head and roll them up into a ball and throw them away from me because it's not true. That's not true. Why would you think that? If they are lovely people, or I wouldn't have them in my life. So why is the first thought in my head that they're thinking something nasty about me? You know,
sometimes the things that happen in life, I mean, like on the news media, I remember this very clearly. Okay, so this is a relative. And so I was my husband and I were opening up some cell phone stores. And so we were in her area where she lives. So I spent the night there. And so everything was just fine and dandy. She kissed her husband bye as he went off to work. Everything was just wonderful. But she's a news freak. I mean, she watches the news all day long. And this is during the Bill Clinton and, you know, the affair and all that kind of stuff was going on. So she built it up in her head that her husband was possibly having an affair. So I'm back at her house to get my things so I can leave and go back home. I lived about an hour away. So he comes in from work. He reaches down to kiss her. Hello, you know, good to be with you, honey, like that kind of thing. She wouldn't even kiss him back. Wow. Then he just kind of shrugs his shoulders and he walks off. And I looked at her and I said, now this morning you were like lovey-dovey. You were all over each other. I was beginning to think I might need to go somewhere to let y'all. And I said, what could he have possibly done? You've not been with him all day.
Right.
And she said, all men are the same. And I said, no, they're not either, you know, like that. But I could see she was about to get into an argument with me because she's a narcissist. So anyway, I thought, I'm out of here. So I'm not going to let her get inside my head.
Right.
A guy, what he must live through. I mean.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I applaud you for walking away because you protected yourself. You know, you knew what was coming and you protected yourself, but you also were able to say, how do you know what's going on here? And I think it's really important that to remember that everything is energy. And so what you watch, what you listen to, you're absorbing that. You are literally often taking on that energy. So when you're watching something that is violent, or that is, if you're watching a news person and they're angry and they're espousing like this stuff that makes you can feel it. You can feel something that makes you uncomfortable. Turn it off. You can find out the information later. You can find out the information elsewhere from someone who's just providing facts and not their opinion through the tone of their voice. You know what I mean? Like, and now all of a sudden you have facts and you're not being influenced by someone else's energy about those facts. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, that is a huge detriment to the news industry right now, because we have 24/7 hour news. There's not enough things going on to fill 24/7, 365. There's just not. And so they make it bigger. They make it dramatic because then you watch. But pay attention to what you're watching. And I don't care what side of the coin you flip. Pay attention to what you're watching.
Absolutely.
Because you are absorbing that.
I need to know what's going on in the world.
Right.
But
absolutely.
I just don't listen to opinions at all. I mean, from either side.
Right.
And so I like just to gather the information and figure it out on my own. But let me ask you this question too, because I know when I was growing up, and I've always hated soap operas. I've never been involved in a soap. Well, Dallas, I kind of got into Dallas, and that was but I just never watched soaps. I mean, it's so silly. It's like, first of all, other women if you're a professional woman, women think because of what they see on a soap opera that you have time for affairs and all this garbage. So I just don't choose to watch it, because if you're really a business person, you don't have time for all that garbage. I mean, you just don't have time. So, and I love my husband. So, and a few things for women who don't understand, things have been told.
That's okay.
But how different is it really in sitting around watching soaps all day and watching the news all day? Aren't they kind of the same thing?
Yes and no. I think that we as humans go to the news to find out facts. But the news, so much of what we call the news, let me put it that way, is not fact. So much of those news networks are opinion shows. They don't tell you that they're opinion shows. We're going into a news network, we expect to find the news, but what we're doing is we're finding somebody's opinion about what happened. And also, like, when you're talking about the news, do you really want all the drama that's involved in it?
No.
Like, no, that's not going to, but that's what we get involved in. And so, but as far as the soaps are concerned, yeah, okay. But that's like, it's so that I don't watch them either, because I don't need that kind of drama in my life. You know what I mean? Because I would rather go outside for a walk and sit amongst the trees, because
it's freeing.
It's beautiful and I can breathe. And like, there's so many other things to do than to get involved in somebody else's drama that isn't even real. But if that's what floats your boat, if that's what like is the hour that you have to yourself every day, cool. Just don't get caught up in it to the point where it's affecting your emotions, or as in the case of your friend, affecting how you view different people. Because remember that it is the most make-believe thing that there could possibly be. And I'm going to say the same thing about the news. When you start feeling a certain way because of how or what someone else is saying, step back for just a minute. Maybe do a fact check. And so that you get the facts and not the emotion, opinion, and drama coming off of that person. So I think that in that sense, I would say that they're the same. But I think that the stark difference is one is absolute make-believe. Like the reality of anything that happens on some of those daytime soap operas, like, come on, like, give me a break. No, everybody knows that can happen. But I will say in my podcast, one of the questions that I asked my guests, like it's one of the first questions I have asked, and that is what's your like, now I can't think of your guilty pleasure. I don't believe in guilt, so it's kind of a hard question for me to ask, but like I ask what the guilty pleasure, and I'm telling you the majority of the people talk about reality television and that it's a guilty pleasure because it's a train wreck. And so it's fun to watch somebody else's life fall apart, which I also don't totally understand, but also it sometimes gives us a sense of, well, at least my life isn't like that.
I guess so.
I think that there's a level of understanding that it's unscripted, but it's definitely guided, and that like, because otherwise they wouldn't win awards and like do all like make any money. So it has to fit a specific structure, even though it's unscripted. And so like, again, I'm not going to criticize anybody from finding relief or like a little bit of joy, some of the drama of somebody else's life. Totally not going to do that. What I'm going to warn you about is if you're watching it enough that you're taking those emotions on and you're taking that energy on, step away just for a bit. Just create some separation. Find your own energy again. Get back into yourself, and try not to let those energies and that drama really affect you and your energy and emotion.
Let's talk about guilty pleasure. So I want you to analyze me. Okay. So you'll be surprised at what my guilty pleasure is.
Okay. Tell me what your guilty pleasure is.
My guilty pleasure is I just need 15 minutes to read a book and eat a Hershey bar. So I
don't understand why there's guilt involved. See, that's the thing about
you're
guilt.
Thinking of the calories. You're thinking of the calories of the chocolate bar.
And like, it's just truly, how often do you do that?
Well, I'm a nutritionist. So I'm also thinking, no, wait a minute. Chocolate is actually good for you. But all the sugar is included.
Well, okay. So let's talk about what kind of chocolate is actually good for you. If you're looking at a 73% dark chocolate, okay, that can be good for you because there's not the added sugar and the milk and all of that stuff.
I like that milk chocolate, though. I like
that milk chocolate's going to get you. But here's the thing. Everything is fine when you do it in moderation. Absolutely.
Keyword.
You do that. Exactly. Even if you did that once a week, on that day, don't have a drink with your dinner. Don't have a glass of wine with dinner that night or whatever that is. Okay. When we start to become more conscious, we technically are born conscious beings. And then all of a sudden we're battered around by society and by our parents and about things. And we start to take on everybody else's opinions, trying to fit in, like we talked about earlier. And even you said how many, like, watching television influences us so much. I think I said this last time, but I say it all the time. And that is, how many movies have you watched? How many rom-coms have you seen where the woman gets broken up with and she doesn't eat a whole quart of ice cream? It happens every time. And so women, we are trained that when we're sad and depressed, we go get a quart of ice cream because that's what we've been trained to do by the movies we watch. So what I'm saying is, be conscious about your choices. And then there's no room for guilt because I am making a choice. I could have that chocolate bar and sit down and read my book, which there's nothing to be guilty about. Or I could read my book in the sunshine with a glass of iced tea. Today I'm going to take that choice because I had dessert yesterday when I went out with my girls. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the chocolate today and have a nice sun tea out in the sun with my book.
I feel like the less you think about it, the less apt you are to do it. I mean, because I have been reading books lately with eating half a chocolate bar.
There you go. But that's a conscious choice.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. You're deciding to only have half because you've realized you don't need the whole thing. Cool. Pretty soon you're going to realize you only need a bite or not. But see, that's the thing is that what we tend to do is, when we make those choices, sometimes you're going to have had dessert with the girls last night and you're going to say, screw it, I really want chocolate. Great. Do it. Because then you are enjoying yourself, blah, blah, blah. But if you start to feel guilty because you've done it, stop. Because now you're not enjoying it anymore. Now you're hating yourself. You're putting yourself through something that is not necessary because you're doing it. So if your actions are resulting in guilt, it to me is like, well, it's like shoulds. And we can talk about using the word should if you want to, because boy, do I have an exercise for that. But it's like, have you ever seen The Neverending Story? That movie, it's an old movie from the 80s. It's like a kid's movie. And they go through this, the hero has his white horse and it's a beautiful white horse. And they go through this, I think it's called the Swamp of Despair. And it's one of those places that you have to be really careful because as you go through the swamp, they're literally neck deep in this like thick muck. But if you lose focus and you give into the despair, it will you start to sink. If you don't and you don't give into this despair, you can get through it, but you can't give into the despair. And that's how I feel about guilt. Guilt keeps you stuck. It keeps you down. It keeps you mired in the yuck. And there's no way out until you let go of the guilt and you move forward. So don't think about that you cheated. You didn't cheat anything. You made a choice. And the best part about a choice is you can make another one next time. And next time, if you have that chocolate or sun tea, and you're like, ooh, last time I had chocolate, I felt terrible about myself. I hated myself for doing that. And I don't want to feel that way again. I'm not going to have the chocolate. Or, you know what? I felt bad about it before, but I don't think I'm going to feel that way again because I deserve this chocolate because I did have dessert last night when I was with the girls. So I'm going to have this piece of chocolate. And I think that we villainize food in order for us to feel better about not having it. But then when we do have it, we become our own villain. And it's like, let's let go of that. It's just a choice. The problem and the calories happen and are problematic when we do that every day. When we go to, I don't know, let's say, not to single anybody out, but let's just say fast food. I'm not going to single anybody out. When we go to fast food every night and we get a burger, fries, and a giant Coke every night, yeah, that's going to add up. That's going to be really harmful. But if you are running late and that's all there is around you, which I'm going to tell you has happened to me, you grab what you can. What?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just once. Okay, I'm not going to feel guilty about this. It's all there is. Normally, I wouldn't eat that. But guess what? Today I am. Cool. Why feel guilty about that? It's when it becomes it's a problem when it's every day. And so I'm saying I don't understand why that's your guilty pleasure because the calories don't matter on that one day a week that you do that. Or yeah, exactly. And you can figure out how to incorporate that into your calories for the day. I'm going to have my chocolate today. So instead of having this extra piece of, I don't know, bread, I'm going to have one piece of toast instead of two with my breakfast because I want chocolate with my book later today. We don't see the calorie exchange between bread and chocolate because one's not considered dessert, but you just look at your bread. Look how much sugar is in that bread. We put so much sugar in everything in this country. And so as a result, have one less piece of bread and then have your chocolate at night. No, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not an accredited anybody, but
I'm having my chocolate once a week. And this is something you can do too. This is what really, and I've not even really been paying attention to it. So you get a Hershey's bar. I mean, it's already broken into little bricks, right? Yeah. Why not just have a couple of bricks once a week? That's okay. That's fine. And we've got to go into a commercial break. Okay. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. I promise we'll be right back. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, I just had that last bite of chocolate. My name is Donna. Oh, you caught me. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. And that's what we're here with Julia about. So we're talking about truth, and it's really, really good truth and things that we need. Sometimes we're just so busy with life. We're so busy with, things that have happened in our life back in the past. We don't forgive ourselves and all of those things. And when we don't forgive ourselves, that's also can drag you down, right? And a narcissist knows where to attack to you. And a lot of times we give it to them. We say, here it is, attack me, please. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think that going back to protecting ourselves and being conscious of who we allow in our lives, somebody can attack me all they want to, but I don't have to let it affect me.
Yeah.
I don't have to let it ruin me. I don't have to be the victim. I can protect myself. And if I have someone in my life who's continually attacking me and trying to get me to react, they're not going to be in my life much longer. Because I am not okay with that. I don't want that kind of energy. I don't want that person in my life, because if someone's looking for something to trigger me, why would I want that in my space? And let's pretend it's a family member who you don't necessarily feel like you can just completely cut out of your life. The first thing I would recommend is, as we were talking about this morning, have a conversation and just say, what's going on? I'm really having a hard time understanding our conversations lately. I am feeling very attacked. I'm feeling like I'm being open and vulnerable with you, and I'm being met with poking fun or this type of behavior or da 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 da. Am I reading that wrong? What's going on with us? I'm feeling disconnected. There's something off, and I care about you, and I would really like to resolve it, because I don't like feeling like you are trying to hurt me. And then what are they going to say? A narcissist is going to probably turn it around and make it about all those things that you did. And then you say, is that true? Is that true? No, that's not true. But here's the thing. Usually if somebody turns something around at you and all of a sudden is attacking, instead of taking that breath, we go on defense mode. That's not true. Da 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 da. Blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden there's conflict. So I'm encouraging you to if you ask a question like that, to be ready for the answer. And if you already know this person is narcissistic, or you already know that this person is immensely defensive, so you even asking them what's going on is going to be triggering to those defenses, be prepared for that, and be prepared to breathe. Have a bottle of water with you, because if you stop them and take a breath, it might be a little weird, but if you stop them because you're taking a drink of your water, they're not going to bat an eye. Take that minute to breathe and ask yourself, is what they're saying true? And when the answer is no, you know, this is not about me. There's something going on with them. Mm-hmm. And then, is this true? Yeah. Do I want to change? No, not your problem. Is this true? Yeah. Do you want to do something about it? Yeah. Here's what I'm going to do about it. Interrupt them and say, I'm going to stop you. You're right. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Do you see what I mean? Like, you can instantly diffuse the situation by taking responsibility for the thing or things that you want to take responsibility for, that are true, that are things that you maybe could change. Mm-hmm. But you can let the rest of it go because it's not about you. It's about that person and their misconception. And so let's say the whole thing is not true and you realize this whole thing is not about you, and you stand there calmly, which will also piss them off. And you say, okay, thank you for bringing that to my attention. A lot of what you said does to me. A lot of what you said is not actually true. A lot of what you said is something that you believe to be true, but you haven't talked to me about it, and it's not true. Let me tell you what's true. You know? And so you can, and then they might be defensive again, and you can ask yourself, is this true? Mm-hmm. Nope, it's not about me. And so then sometimes you have to just say, okay, cool, thank you for talking to me, and walk away. And remember, I'm not going to be able to talk to that person about XYZ, even if they're family. The thing about family, I realized once, my grandmother died. This was many, many years ago. And we didn't do anything big for her. She'd been ill, and like, she didn't have a whole lot of friends. And so the family decided not to do anything crazy. But I wanted to go and honor her. So I flew to California. I went to San Diego. I spent an evening with my uncle. We went to dinner, and it was nice. And we had a conversation, and it was like, okay, cool. We could be friends. We're not really close, but cool. He's family, whatever. Did some stuff. Went to another area where my other uncle is. We went to lunch, spent some time with him, had a good time. It was like, cool, we could be friends. And I went into my car. I rented a car, and I went in, and I was like, okay, cool. I could be friends with my uncles. They're my family, and I could be friends. It would take effort because they don't call me and I don't call them. So if I want to establish a relationship with my family, I can, but it's going to be work. And then I went to another memorial for a friend of mine who had passed. And in the theater that I told you was a community that I was involved in. And I walked in, and it was like, Julia. And they welcomed me. They knew everything that was going on in my life because we're friends in social media. They asked me questions about my job, about my mom and my brother, about like all of these things. And it was like, it hit me like a slap in the face. My family. These are just my friends, but they are more family to me than my actual family. Mm-hmm. And we put just like the words, we put so much weight in, but it's family. And we let our quote unquote family railroad us and just walk all over us because they're family. Mm-hmm. I call BS on that. I say, no. I don't care who they are to you. I don't care if it's your mom, your brother, your sister, your dad, whoever it is. If they are treating you poorly, you are allowed to set your own boundaries. You are allowed to say, no. I don't deserve to be treated like that. My friend who isn't family doesn't treat me that way. So you don't get to either. And release a little bit of this tight hold we have on the word family, and that blood is thicker than water. I beg to differ. Mm-hmm. Because the people who
don't think so.
Love you,
I just really don't.
Yeah. The people who love and support you, regardless of their quote unquote title. And so we can release the people who don't support us, regardless of their quote unquote title. In my opinion, it's my opinion. But because I felt it, like it was visceral. It was like I felt like I was coming home compared to spending 2 days with the men that should have felt like coming home. You know what I mean? Anyway.
And no, I know exactly what you mean. And this is another thing that I've noticed throughout my entire life. I have friends that I've known from childhood and then new acquaintances. You're one of my new friends. But what I've noticed is my friends actually celebrate accomplishments. My family doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I've just, you pick up on that after a while. And absolutely. And it kind of hurts. I mean, you think, And another thing is I never tell family about accomplishments because it always winds up being an issue. I
Well,
just don't, because it
yeah.
puts you in a situation and I'd rather not be in. I don't want that feeling.
Okay.
So I just don't
And
tell
that's
them.
okay. Exactly. And that's okay. And then if someone says something to you about how come you didn't tell us this, you can say, I just wasn't sure what the reaction would be. Or I've learned in the past that I haven't gotten the support that I needed from whatever. So I haven't been doing that. The fact that you're interested and would like me to tell you, I will tell you going forward and see what happens, But I think that first of all, I think that celebrating ourselves is so important. We tend to wait until a goal has been accomplished to celebrate.
Mhm.
And it is vitally important for us to celebrate every day. At the end of the day, ask yourself, how did I show up for myself today? And then celebrate the hell out of that. Have a really good meeting at work and go and celebrate. You're going to be, for me, I was quick to go grab a drink after a shitty day at work. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
We'll take
I was
that.
always after a bad day at work.
I'm close sometimes.
After a bad day at work, I was always quick to go and grab a drink, but I never went and grabbed a drink after I had an amazing meeting. You know what I mean? Because I hadn't accomplished the goal yet. After the goal was accomplished, then maybe we would celebrate. But like literally every step of the way, because it's gonna just buoy you to do more, to make it to the goal. Don't forget that the journey up the mountain is just as beautiful. The views on your way up, gorgeous. Don't miss out on those by just only having your eye. Nope, I'll look when I get to the top. I'll look when I get to the top. Enjoy it all.
Let me ask you a question. And this actually applies to approval. So is there a little bit of narcissism in us if we feel like we have to have the approval for family members?
No, we need approval from family members, from friends, from the people around us. We need approval. It is an inherent thing. Remember, narcissism is taking that to an extreme. And that's what I mean. We throw around that word because somebody wants praise, they're a narcissist. No, that's not true. They deserve praise. They did a really good job. And nobody's recognizing that. So of course, they're up, tooting their own horn. Good. They should. Nobody else is tooting it for them. Cool. Now, taking that to an extent, to an extreme, and always prioritizing, like one-upping each other. There is a Kristen Wiig on Saturday Night Live did a thing where like she played a role where someone was like, yeah, I just had a baby. She's like, oh, I had a baby too. And it's like, but I had 2 babies. And like every single thing that somebody said, she would like exaggerate it. And it was obviously not true, but like she just kept, because she had to be. That is a narcissist. And that is taking it to an unhealthy place. And like I said before, narcissism is usually associated with other personality disorders that like sometimes then are, because of our current obsession with the word narcissism, we don't see the stuff behind it. And it's probably a huge lack of security. Like somebody who needs to always be at the forefront of everybody's attention and one up each other and do better than everyone else, that comes with a massive amount of insecurity and ego and all of those things. And that is a separate thing. But that's what the real problem is. Do you see what I mean? And
well,
so
there was a situation with Mr. Caffey, who is the owner of Chick-fil-A. And so he was being interviewed by someone. I remember it was 2020 or something. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, they said, if you were open on Sundays, you could be number 1 because it's closed on Sundays. And so Mr. Caffey said, I'm okay with being number 3. I mean,
right.
Be okay in your skin. Be okay where you are.
Right. And that's where confidence comes in. He's confident. He doesn't need to be number 1 in order to know that he has an amazing, like, conglomeration. He's got come on. Does he really need to be number 1? That's not his focus. His focus is on the things that he believes in more than being number 1. And I think that's awesome. So confidence actually comes from showing up for ourselves every day. If you say to yourself, I want to go on a walk every day. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be short. I just want to go on a walk every day. The first day you do it, your body's going to be like, oh my God, you did it. You followed through. The second day, the third day, by the third day, your body starts to believe yourself. You start to believe yourself. And that's where confidence comes from. But when we say we're going to do something and then we don't for ourselves, and then we don't, our body's like, didn't show up for me again. Didn't show up for me again. Didn't show up for me again. And so we stop believing in ourselves because we didn't show up for ourselves. So when you say to yourself, I'm going to not eat chocolate, it's not about not eating chocolate. It's about doing what you've promised yourself you would do for yourself, because you want yourself, your inner being, to believe in you. Let me take that back. Your inner being always believes in you. You want your body to trust that you're going to show up for yourself each day. And the more you do it, the more your confidence grows, because now you know what's going to happen, because it's happened for the last 5 days. So why wouldn't it happen today? Of course. Here we go. We're going to go on a walk. And now all of a sudden you want to go on your walk because everybody, meaning all of your body, is involved. And you're confident in your walk, and you start to walk a little bit different, and you start to walk a little bit faster and a little bit longer and a little bit all of those things, because we have the confidence now to do it. It's all about believing in, reminding your body and your mind that you can trust yourself and believe that you're going to follow through for yourself.
Well, and also the older you get, I mean, the reason why you do things changes, because before it was like, okay, I'll exercise. I want to be in great shape, blah, blah, blah. And I still want to be in good shape. I'll be 65 on my birthday next month.
I don't believe it.
I'm kind of proud of it. I mean, because I like doing, I mean, it's these little mini accomplishments, but here's the key. Now the reason I walk is for mind clarity. So I've just noticed I don't have the brain fog.
Right.
Because and a lot of folks I went to school with are having brain fog and all this stuff. And I mean, if you're okay with it, fine. But I don't want brain fog.
Right.
So
right.
Again, I'm doing it for a total different reason now.
Right. Right. And to be completely honest with you though, Donna, the reason, all of the reason is to do something for yourself. And that is so important. And we as a society, especially women, we don't do that. We prioritize everyone else and everything else in front of ourselves, whether it's our spouses, our partners, our children, our jobs, and that is both. But like, we always have a to-do list, and we are at the bottom. The walk is on the bottom. The going to get your nails done is at the bottom. Whatever it is that would make you feel good today is at the bottom. What if, and I actually had somebody tell me that they did this and it changed their lives. Instead of doing the one thing a day for themselves was at the bottom, and they started doing it first. And they had to move some things around, but because we're the type of people that we are going to show up for everything and everybody else on that list come hell or high water, if we start with ourselves, we're still going to get the whole list done. But if we don't, and we put ourselves at the bottom, we're going to get to the whole list, and then we're going to come to ourselves and be like, oh, I'm tired. I'll do that again later. Because we don't matter as much as the people around us. And I want to switch that. I want people to love themselves more than they love the people around them. Because if I don't love myself, I don't have enough love to give to you. You know what? I started a sourdough starter. And this is the perfect example of self-love. Because for those of you who know sourdough starter or not, you have to feed the starter. And if you keep it out, you have to feed it every day. And that means that there's a lot of sourdough starter, which means I have a lot of bread to make. So I'm going to make myself a loaf. I'm going to make my neighbor a loaf. I'm going to make you a loaf. I'm going to make her a loaf. And, you want some starter? Here, have some starter, because I'm feeding it every day. So there is always excess. I'm feeding myself every day. So there will always be an excess of love for me to give everybody else. But if I'm so worried about baking this bread for you, baking this bread for you, baking this bread for you, that I don't feed my starter, the starter dies and there's nothing for anyone.
Beautiful analogy.
Not them.
That is beautiful. You need to have a podcast just on that. I mean, that's beautiful. Well, let me tell you something, because ultimately I'm the caretaker for my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got to put exercises number one in the morning. I have to, so I can have the energy, because I'm no help from siblings. So I have to have that energy in order to be able to take care of her. My spouse has to be number one. So spouse number one, then mother. But I have to have the energy, and I have to have the energy level.
Donna number one, spouse number two, then mother. Donna number one. Donna number one. Donna number one.
All right, I rephrase that.
Sorry.
But
it's just absolutely
to be able to do that. That's why you're turning that upside down. That's why you're taking care of yourself. Okay, airlines, the first thing they say, you got a kid with you and you've got to have that breath mask. You're not going to be able, your child is going to die if you don't put the mask on first. Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to take care of your child. You've got to have the mask, then put it on them.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, I would do. But anyway.
Yeah. And of course we would do it quickly, because now we have to get it on them. I bet if we put it on them first, we wouldn't be as quick to put it on ourselves. Mm-mm. Because I have to do this first in order to help my child. Mm-hmm. But if I help my child first, I don't kind of matter as much. So I don't move as fast. And that's where I apologize for interrupting you and almost reprimanding you. But it is so important that we are the number one priorities of our lives. It's your life. Why wouldn't you be the priority of your life?
And we have
You're
to answer
the master of your life.
That's
you
true.
Create your reality. And so if you say life sucks,
then it will.
Well, not just that, but whose life is it? Life is not this enigma thing that exists outside of us. Your life. So if life sucks, that means you are telling yourself in the world that you suck. Guess what? Do something about that. I have a friend who likes to say life is lifing. And to me, that is like, okay, so that means you're treading water because you're not doing anything to have life progress, because it's just lifing. And again, it's putting life as an outside thing from us. Mm-hmm. It's your life. You are the creator of your life and of your reality. And so if you're unhappy, let's take some steps to make yourself happy. Start by breathing. Start by finding a love for yourself. Now, I'm going to be honest. If you're in the deepest depression, loving yourself is impossible. You can't get there from here. But what you can do is get mad about how depressed you are. Mm-hmm. Because anger feels a lot better than despair. Mm-hmm. And then the next day, I'm not encouraging anybody to stay in anger, but the next day, what feels best? What's the next step? What's the next best feeling? Mm-hmm. Regret. Okay, cool. I regret some of the things that I did. And then we're going to work our way up. And soon you'll be here. You'll be at a place where you're content and you're happy and you love yourself. But we so often expect people to jump from being you're depressed. Oh, you can't get out of bed. Come on, let's go. Put a smile on that face. You're okay. It doesn't work that way. You got to work your way up. So instead of finding the best feeling, find the next best feeling. What
and I need to change.
Good today.
Mm-hmm. Julia, we're going to have to call it a day. Can you believe how fast? I mean, it just flew by. Okay, totally. So we're going to have to go. Now, how can folks find more information about you and what you do?
Absolutely. I am on Instagram as Julia Christine Health. I'm on Facebook as Julia Christine. And then there's always the Life After Breath podcast. I am working on my website, which is juliachristinehealer.com, but it's very much under construction right now. So the Facebook and Instagram are probably the best way to contact me, DM me. And then please check out the podcast just to find that daily, just 7 minutes just for yourself in the morning. You deserve it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show with me. Now, hang around after the show. We've got to get you set up for the next show.
Cool.
Okay? All right. So everybody, it's so good to be with you today. And thank you again so much for the email. Send more, Donna at donnasedge.com. I hope you have a fantastic day today.